Hello everyone, it's me, Coffee Stitcher. It is the second Sunday in February. I hope everyone's doing well. For those at sports ball, I know tonight is the Super Bowl, and I wish whoever you're hoping wins. I have literally no stake in the game, or even vegan stake in the game. Let's see. What do we have to talk about today? We've actually got quite a bit today. We've got some haul. We've got whip updates. We've got next week's plans. We've got 2 finishes, one of which has not been posted to Instagram yet. Because I decided to make it a surprise for here, and I also didn't want to take thunder away from something else I'd already done yesterday. So yeah. And we've got an almost FFO. Well, actually, we've got 2 almost FFOs, so yay! Anyhow, so we were going to dive right on in. Pardon my stretching. Okay. So, we'll start with the good old-fashioned Q&A. The first question comes from Delilah Love 214. She says, I haven't worked with Aurifil, but just started a project with 12-weight Silky. Can you compare the 2? Pros, cons, preference. So, I actually can. Because I have like 1 or 2 random spools of Sulky. I've got a ton of Aurifil. Okay, so first off, in terms of presentation, they're fairly similar. They're both, at least in terms of the 12-weight. 12-weight, they come on a spool, 50 yards per spool. You generally can get away with using 1 strand of each on 14/28, 16/32. I haven't tried on anything higher than that because I don't generally work on higher counts, other than I do work on 18 count Ada, that's the word. Whew. 18 count Ada sometimes. So, in terms of what you get off the spool, just straight up, there's not a lot of difference. Both of them have little grooves for you to put leftover with, so that's not too different. They're both sort of similarly shaped. They both easily fit on one of these little rack things, or in one of these like clear case things. Just sort of your preference. So, in terms of physical presentation, there's not really a whole lot of difference. Now, where you get into the difference, Sulky, which is available at just about every Joann's, Sulky, I notice as you're going along your spool, the thickness of the weight seems to change. I also find it a little more easy. I find that it shreds a little easier. I also think it's a little thinner. The Aurifil, on the other hand, and I've now used it, I used it entirely, completely on one project. I used it, the majority of it, on another project. I use the 12-weight on. I've used the 28 on a project, and I've used the floss on a few things as well. I have never had a problem with knotting. I have never had a problem with tangling. I've never had a problem with shredding or tearing. The thread, or the floss when it's the floss, it's uniform throughout. The thickness doesn't change. It doesn't vary. There's not any unevenness to it. I think it is a little more expensive. It's a little harder to come by. I won't lie. That is the one con, is it is a little harder to find. But I think overall, it is a much better product. And that leads into Deborah Dixon's question. She said that she said I mentioned Anchor blends in with DMC Great. I think she meant Aurifil. I only have one project that uses Anchor, and I couldn't tell the difference between the two, and really there's not much. So the project that I used a whole lot of things on intermittently was the Setsuma Street Wizard of Oz. And I'll try to get some good close-up pictures, or try to get in close as I can for you on it. So, on the Setsuma Street Oz, just to sort of start out. So, the entire yellow brick border was done in the called for DMC. The yellow brick road here was not, but the DMC is the border. I used the Aurifil for that. The Aurifil, where I didn't use Aurifil, obviously the metallics. Aurifil does not offer any metallics. The over 1 parts, I didn't use Aurifil for because I had ordered the 12 weight and that was too thick to do 1 over 1. I could have done like tent stitch, but I wanted to really do the 1 over 1 because I was insane. So the skin is definitely on any of the characters is DMC. A couple of the blues are DMC because when I got them when I got the ones from Aurifil, while they were close-ish matches to the DMC, they skewed a little more purple or a little more gray, so it didn't quite work out as well. So there were a couple of small substitutions where I did go for the DMC original over the Aurifil, but it was very few and far between. To be a little fair to Aurifil, they have 240, or maybe it's 270. I got my little sheet here. 270 colors. DMC has what, like 400 plus? So there's going to be times where you're not going to be able to, there's not a conversion choice. But for the most part, there was, and it worked fairly well. So, I'll get in as close as I can. Let me move my coffee so I don't accidentally get coffee on my... because that would really be upsetting. So, you can see the DMC blends straight in the border. There's not any real difference between the DMC and the Aurifil. So there's not, and when I say there's no difference, that doesn't mean that, oh, you shouldn't use Aurifil because you're not going to tell a difference. The quality of the fiber, to me, makes the difference. It's so easy and so nice to work with, and unlike DMC, which, as we all know, tangles, I had all week. This week, it seemed like on Aurora, like every 3rd or 4th stitch, I was getting a knot in my floss. It was a thing that was happening. I've had none of that with the Aurifil. So, for instance, in here, in this particular top spot, the skin is all DMC. The rest of the block entire, other than obviously the metallic-y bits, is Aurifil. And then I backstitched with Whisper for the hair. So it turned out really, really lovely. In general, it's really great to work with. I'm enjoying on Little Red Riding Hood doing the 2-strand of the 28. I did recently requisition for myself the best selection of both the 12 weight and the floss so I can start incorporating more Aurifil in more projects. So I highly recommend it. There is, full disclosure, I am an Aurifil artisan, so they do ask, so I do get free product from them. They've also created in the Aurifil shop, I have to disclose it at work and get approval before I can have an affiliate link. So that full disclosure there on that. But having used the Sulky and not liked it in the past, and having used the Aurifil is night and day a better product, I think, than Sulky is. So hopefully that kind of answers questions. Critter Stitcher asks, what is the theme for Magical Stitches this year? This year they're reading a cozy mystery series involving a needlework shop owner. I am not reading along. As much as I do enjoy cozy mysteries, that did not sound like one I wanted to really spend time with. And I have a backlog of things that I wanted to read, so I'm not doing the reading, but I am doing the challenges, and they definitely are helping. I've been very productive this year. Susan Kruger, I wondered where you had been. I'm glad you found me again, though, and hopefully I'll see you at the shop at some point, maybe. Um, let's see. Michelle Bindi Stitchy asks, how and when do I decide to change colors? Is it a feeling? The answer to that is yes. Generally, and this is my approach to things, if I look at a chart and go, you know what, I like this, but I'm going to have to change like all of the colors in it, then it really doesn't mean that I like the pattern. I don't really need to do it. Now, what I will say happens is there will be times where I'll look at a pattern and go, you know what, I really like this, and I want to do it all in Gentle Arts, which means, yes, I'm going to be doing color conversions. Sometimes it's a matter of, like with skin tones, where it's like, no, I'm going to make this character a person of color. Sometimes it's a matter of I'm wanting to do this more accurate to either my own idea of a character, or, if it's, say, like the SodaStitch, when I did the SodaStitch and I changed, the Pinocchio, it's the blue fairy and she's in pink. So sometimes it's, no, the character is the blue fairy, she needs to be wearing blue. By and large, it's a feeling. Every once in a while, it'll be one where it's just like, like the SodaStitch one where I go, this has to happen. Sometimes it's a matter of, I really want to do it on this fabric, but this couple of colors isn't going to work, so what can I switch it to? Which you'll see a little bit in Narnia. I did, and sometimes it's, I look at a color palette, especially on a mystery cell, and I go, the heck are these colors? And then you see the first part and you go, oh, I get those colors now. So, by and large, it's a feeling. The bigger question and bigger struggle is, when do I want to add metallics or not? And that's sometimes the bigger challenge. Sometimes it's a, does this work in metallics? Because sometimes you'll do it and you go, no, this doesn't really work. Or sometimes you look at it and go, you know what, this would work, but I need something slightly different. Like, in the case of Setsuma, the Silk Lame braid was a better choice because it was a softer, more subtle. On SodaStitch, that works better doing that, or just doing a top stitch because it's so delicate. And then sometimes you just want it right in your face. So, I don't know if that really answered your question, but there you go. And thank you, Suzanne Girard, for correcting my pronunciation on French Kitchen. I did not realize that it was that E-T in French is pronounced like A. I never took French. I took sign language in high school. I barely passed Spanish in college because I didn't have time to really properly devote to it, and I'm working slowly through Duolingo learning German. So, I appreciate you for that. And as always, y'all, if you hear me just botch a pronunciation, particularly if it's a foreign language, please correct me, because I would much rather be right than wrong. All right. Okay, so let's go into ZHall. So first, I did get a Fire Poppies order, but it was just 3 DMC colors that I needed for Narnia. That's not interesting. Y'all don't need to see that. I did get my Fortnite fabrics. So I got my fabric of the month. This year I'm doing the Meet the Browns, and I'm doing 28 count even weave. So this is the first one. It's called Peanut Gallery. Sort of a nice, let me go back to this envelope to give me some color screening there. That's pretty accurate. So it's a nice sort of dusty brown. And then I got, they had a couple, like a flash sale of one-offs, and I did an auction. So I got some Fat 8s. 3 8s and a linen. Let's go through it this way. So this is a, and I don't remember what was an auction, what wasn't, so, so we've got this lovely piece of 14 count Aida. Nice pale blue. This one is a 16 count Aida, and it's a nice sort of neutral. It's a little more red in person. Sort of more like a reddish clay color. It's not going to pick up too well, I don't think, unfortunately. It's very pretty. Like a dusty rose, but with more brown than dusty rose. This is an 18 count. It's a sort of fun mottled purple. It's a little more purpley in person. So one downside to floss too is you can, a lot of times with fabrics, you have a lot of trouble getting the color to show true. And then finally, the linen. This is a 32 count opal linen. And it's mostly blue, like sort of a blues, greens, with small pops of yellow. That's actually fairly close to what it looks like. So another good one for something. We'll see. Who knows? And then I got a lovely present from a friend who I believe would prefer to remain nameless. It's two fat quarters of Fiberlicious. One is Cherific, which I think will be perfect for the Brooks books. I think it's Princess Kaguya. I'm probably mispronouncing it. It's the Japanese princess. So it's a really pretty kimono. Yep. And then Autumn Orchard. These are both a 32 count Lugana. So these are really pretty. No idea what I'll use the second one for, but that's part of the fun of having fabric, is suddenly discovering something you can use it on. All right. So that's the haul for the week. So, what did Garrett work on this week? And then we'll also talk about what Garrett's going to work on next week. Okay, so this week, so on Sunday of last week, I finished up Nutcracker by SodaStitch. So here it is. So I did the Sugar Plum Fairy. The small changes I made to her, obviously I made her a person of color. Originally I was going to do 841, but it was reading too purple against the pink hair. So I went a little darker. And then I did, for the white in her dress and wings, I actually used the white étoile. So, let's see if I can get slightly better. There we go. So that one is now finished. That makes for my 4th of the fairy tale squares finished. I've done Little Mermaid, I've done Snow White, I've done Wizard of Oz. So that is a finish. So that was the first finish of the week. Then I worked on Aurora a little bit Sunday night because I wanted to finish the blue, which I did. And then Aurora was my project of the week primarily for magical stitches. So, because I needed one that involved a fairy. I used penalty stitches for oldest whip because there wasn't anything with water. Fashion for a costume design, which that dress is. And then something stitchy, I used the oldest whip again. So I got the penalty stitches there. And then I discovered I was having I have about a good hour most mornings before work that I can sit and stitch. So I've just kept working. So I actually managed to finish all of the pink. So I finished the blue on Sunday night. So I finished up the blue down there. And then I did all the pink this week. And that little bit there. So I'm just going to keep working on this in the mornings before work. And I think I may actually come very close to a finish this month, which is kind of exciting. So there we are. This is Aurora from Brooke's Books. So after Aurora finished, Narnia came out sort of early. So because of the number involved in the way that Kristen has to send out patterns and emails, she sends them in batches. So, and it looks like it's the earlier you signed up, the earlier you get. So I got in very quickly. I got in the first 8 minutes. So I got the pattern on Wednesday. Oh, wait, no, before that. So then I worked on, for my weekly challenge, the cat section of Alice in Wonderland. So, and I finished that. This is the Setsuma Street. So I finished the cat. There he is. The one big change I did make to this section, I left out, the trees were filled in, but it was such a dense section anyways, and because there are leaves on the branches, I thought, you know what, I'm going to leave that out just so it's not so heavy. So here's where I am on it. I think the next two are probably going to go a lot faster because there's a lot more color changes. I tend to stitch color changes faster. And there weren't a lot of color changes in the cat. So that part is done. Alright, so that was then when I started on Narnia. Right. So I would have technically had this done Friday night, but because I had to wait on an order, I Did not. So this is on Couture from Fortnite Fabrics. But here is the first part. So the small changes I made, I'm going to add some beads in. I did the branches in metallic gold from Rainbow Gallery. I'm actually really proud with how they turned out. I did backstitch the title, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, in metallic as well. Because the floss itself I was afraid was going to get lost. So the metallic I thought gave it a little extra chance to stand out. So, there we go. The next part doesn't come out until March, I believe. Yeah, March 5th. So, got a little bit of time. Alright, I did part 6 of Souvenir. That's the freebie from Victoria Sampler that's in the Facebook group. So here is it. So part 6, it was this tree and the little squirrel. I actually did the squirrel over one with Aurifil, the 12 weight, and it turned out really pretty great. So... and in fact, the brown in the tree and the backstitch grass is also Aurifil. Actually, I think basically the only thing not Aurifil are the leaves. Yeah, everything else is Aurifil in that section. So, you can kind of see I'm using Aurifil in tandem in places. So, really loving this one. And it's nice because you can finish a part... I think the first part took the longest, but I think most of the parts after that I finished in maybe 90 minutes or less. Okay, so that brings me to the finishes of the week. So besides Nutcracker, I went ahead, I've got to do the actual FFOing. I just put it in the hoop thing. So when that section comes up, when that square gets called, that was kind of why I did it, was to have it ready to go. But the Darling and Whimsy Quaker Cryptids on Texas Wildflower from Deerfoot. And I kind of like how this looks like the fabric is moving. Like it looks liquidy behind it. That actually is a really cool effect. I hope I'm not making anybody motion sick with that. Does it do it when I'm not looking at it on camera? Not quite as much. That's really cool. Okay. And then the Veronica and Ginger Little Mermaid. I thought about this for a while, and decided to just go ahead and finish her out as she was. So I did the backstitching on the shell, her fin, and the conch shell in a Rainbow Gallery. Obviously pearls for bubbles. I used some beads. There's some beads in her tail, which you can sort of see. But there she is. So, that was another one. It was like, I have a feeling, I don't know why, but my spidey sense is telling me one of those squares is about to get called, and I wanted to not be caught off guard like last year. Sorry, itch. Okay, so that leads me to, what am I going to work on this week? Well, I've still got one Whip Go goal left, which is Haunted House, and I've got 500 stitches on that. Well, the first 2 tasks in Magical Stitches this week, I can't do. I don't have a project with a bee, and I don't have a project with a Santa on it. So I'm going to be penalty stitching, so I'm going to double dip. So I will work on Haunted House this week. Since we have to do 400 stitches, 500 stitches to fulfill the Whip Go, 400 of those will go to Magical Stitches. So that's where I am in the piece, and that's what I've got to stitch. So, I think that's going to put me pretty close to 500. Alright. Then the next one is Stitch on a Sow. So I'm going to work on Little Red Riding Hood Parade. Because I'll have to do 100 stitches there. So the new part did come out. This is on Ale from Picture This Plus. So it's Wolf Granny in the bed. Let's see. And then the next one, which will go into my last of the weekly projects, was a stitch on a pattern that someone else inspired you to do. And I don't remember who it was that did this that made me love it, but it's inspiration from Rosewood Manor. So my goal is a page finish. I did get the missing color I needed from, this is the one I'm doing all in Anchor. I did get the missing color that I needed so I can finish the urn correctly. But that's where I'm at on that. So, looking very much forward to getting a page finish in on that. What that leaves still to work on is Stitching Witches and South Seas Mermaid. I'm not going to work on South Seas Mermaid probably this week because I just did all that on the Veronica and Ginger. And honestly, if I don't end up working on her this month, that's kind of okay. Because I got a lot in on her last month and I'm in a good spot with her. So I'm not sure what I'm going to work on today. I've still got plenty of time left in the month. I've still got Stitching Witches to work on. We don't know what the 4th weekly challenge is going to be. That's going to be a surprise. So we'll find that out soon, I guess. But yeah. So anyhow, I hope everyone has a great week. I will see you all next week. Bye.